Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're joining us. I am very excited to introduce our special guest today, Billie Ortiz. Billie Ortiz is a certified dream worker with 2 decades of experience creating and facilitating dream groups, workshops, and retreats. Her appreciation of metaphor and symbol expands her work to the realm of myth and fairy tale, helping guide dreamers to a deeper understanding of the profound archetypal messages of their dreams. Certified with Dr. Jeremy Taylor's Marin Institute for Projective Dreamwork, she worked closely with Dr. Jeremy Taylor, co facilitating a total of 27 retreats from 2003 until 2015. She's presented workshops at renowned organizations such as the International Association for the Study of Dreams, IASD, Saging International, Boulder Friends of Jung, and Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. So, Billie, it is a great pleasure to have you joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So, why don't we start off with a little bit of how you came into being a dream worker? How did this become something really important to you in your life?
Well, this is the story I love to tell. I was binge watching on one of the educational stations here in the Denver area, Joseph Campbell lectures, and in one of Joseph Campbell's lectures, he commented, "When you reach the age of 35, you reach the middle of your life, no matter how long you're going to live." And I was about to turn 35. So it just hit me like this thunderbolt. And I thought, what do I do now? So I started going out researching different classes and different trainings. And through my bumbling through all of this, I found a man named Dr. Ron Mesa. And he invited me. I joined actually a class about the I Ching. And then later, when that class was over, he said, "Billie, I have this class about dreams and you might be interested." And I thought, I've always thought dreams were kind of fascinating. Let's give this a go. And I ended up joining his groups and was there every Tuesday night for about 5 years. And then Ron and I built a business together. And this was way before Zoom and way before the internet was very young. It was like mid 90s. And so we did a lot of work over telephone bridge lines, if you remember those big. We used to have a lot of teleclasses. Do you remember those days?
I do. I do. It seems like another universe ago, but yeah, thank God for
Right.
Zoom.
And there was a lot of, coaching and teaching and all kinds of things. So we started what I had a dream called Telephone Dream Service. So we started the Teledream group, and we actually were able to connect people from all over the country. But of course, we couldn't see each other, so there was a lot of talking over top. But we still did some amazing work, and it was really great. And things just grew from there and grew from there. And all this time, Ron Mesa had asked me. He said, "If you really want to learn about dreams, you should read the books of Jeremy Taylor." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I'm reading. I got really involved in the books. Just thought, man, it feels like this man is talking to me. I love everything he's saying about dreams because I already had experienced the power of dreams. So then one day I was out in Boulder, and Naropa University had just put out their catalog. I opened the catalog to the page of Jeremy's picture, and he was going to be he was going to be in Boulder, Colorado, live and in person. And I was stunned. I thought, oh my goodness, this man I've been reading all these months and years actually, he's going to be here. So I signed up for the course, and that was in 2000. And ever since then, and then I worked with Jeremy for a total of like 18 years, from 2000 until his untimely death in 2018. So anyway, that's my story. And now I do dream work pretty much almost every day.
Wow. So Jeremy kind of coined the term, at least I think he did. I credit him, the projective dream work. And
Mhm.
I know that's something that's important, an important part of your work. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is? What is projective dream work?
Yeah, well, actually, I think Montague Ullman was the first person to coin that phrase, "If it were my dream,"
Mm,
which is the Montagu-Ullman method, I know a lot of people really stand by it and think and it's a powerful method. So Montagu-Ullman but it's a much more rigid method of when to ask questions and when to make the projections and when to not and all that. So this is a more free-form version of it. And Jeremy used to say he liked the term "in my imagined version of your dream."
Mm,
Because once we hear someone's dream, we have no choice but to imagine a version of it for ourselves. So it activates the imagination and we see it in our mind's eye and we can enter the dream that way. So the projective method is based on being able to continuously own our projections. And that way the dreamer can either take it or leave it. So if I said to you, Kelly, I think this dream might have, what if I said, Kelly, this dream has something to do with your relationship with your mother? And then the you becomes, accusatory. And immediately the dreamer wants
mm,
to shut down. But if I said, Kelly, this, in my imagined version of this dream, it might have something to do with my relationship with my mother. So you're invited as the dreamer to either take that or leave it. But I hear myself saying it. So therefore it goes both ways. And
right.
that's why the projective method is so powerful.
I love that. And I remember hearing Dr. Jeremy Taylor say something about, he was answering a question about, well, when do you know you're projecting or when you aren't? He said, if you're alive and you're breathing, you're probably 100% projecting. How
That's
would you
it.
answer that question? What do you think about that?
I would say exactly the same. I would say, we're always projecting. The only choice we have is to catch ourselves in the process of doing it. It's where
Right.
all the it's where all the isms come from. Racism, sexism, ageism, all those things are based on projection. Because I want to see something in somebody else rather than see it in myself. So I project it out. But the only way that we can become whole is by pulling that projection back and saying,
Right.
this really belongs to me. It just looks different because I want it to look as though it's in somebody else's form and shape. And so that's why dreams are valuable, because they often show us those characters that hold those shadow qualities that really are very valuable.
It feels like it also implies that everything that we could hear or see or listen to, it's within us. There's nothing intrinsically external to us. It feels like this projective way of doing dream work is ultimately empowering to both the dreamer and the person in the dream group that's just listening.
It's a very psycho-spiritual practice because I'm constantly seeing, what do I'm making this comment. This comment is a projection, owning it as a projection and saying to myself, wait a minute, where does that live in me?
Right.
I'm encountering an angry person. I'm noticing how angry they are and they're over the top angry. And I think to myself, wow, this person is so angry, and then I have to think, oh, wait, where do I feel angry right now? Why would this be in my awareness at the moment?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's so important. I love it. I love it. Okay, so you have 6 basic hints for dream work. I love the way you word that. They're hints. They're not tools. They're not, you must do this, commandments. They're hints. So, what are these 6 basic hints for dream work that you use?
This was what Jeremy Taylor called the toolkit, and he gave it the term the 6 basic hints for dream work. And I'm going to use my little cheat card just so I don't lose track, and I want to stay
Yeah.
on because otherwise I'll jump around, and I'm a
Mhm.
bit like that. I'm a little like distracted.
Kind of like a dreamer. Squirrel,
Yeah.
squirrel.
So I have to kind of keep my finger here and so make sure that I've covered that one. They over the years, I read Jeremy's first book, which was published way back in the 1980s. The original
Mm.
was called Dreamwork, and in that book, if you can get a copy of it, it might be harder to find now. But he had it. He had the suggestions for Dreamwork that went on for like 2.5 pages. So I'm really glad. Over the years, he boiled it down and he condensed it down to this precise toolkit. So that's why
It's
I
great.
wanted to share it in our talk today, because it's
Great.
really important about how it encompasses why dreams are important. So the very first one is, all dreams speak a universal language and come in the service of health and wholeness, and there is no such thing as a bad dream. Only dreams that come in with a seemingly negative tone. And this is the most encompassing piece of it, is that we all dream similar symbols and metaphors. And I've discovered this even more now during the pandemic years, when I had to
Mm.
switch from in-person dream groups to Zoom exclusively. And people from all over the world have started connecting with me. I mean, it's been really remarkable. And now I get to see people from Ireland and France and Italy, and they all dream similar themes. And it's like, isn't this remarkable? Because I'm used to the themes of, oh, I've lost the baby, or I don't remember who the baby is, or who did I have a baby? Those, whose baby is
Oops, there's a
it?
baby. Right.
And then there's the classic, I've lost my luggage, I've lost my purse, I've lost my wallet, I lost my car. All those kind of themes around identity and who I am. I mean, that's my quickie version of what those might mean. Is that if I lose my purse in the dream, is it an invitation to drop my old identity and become someone totally different? And
Ooh, interesting.
often what happens in those dreams is I have to, and as the dreamer, I have to go around and ask people a lot of questions and ask a lot of directions. So it's like this hero's journey quest to find the new me. So there's
Oh, I love that frame about a dream like that, because it can be so unsettling and somebody might feel so bad about themselves having a dream like that. But when you contextualize it, like you're being propelled onto your hero's journey, this dream might be marking an initiation. It's like, oh, well, that's another frame for how to look at that. It's so much about the way this notion of looking at your dreams from this first basic hint perspective about there being this innate health and wholeness element of the dream. I
right.
love that
So
aspect.
especially with nightmares that can come
Yeah.
in. Nightmares, people go, what is this going? Why are my dreams torturing me? And the catchphrase that Jeremy often gave, which I just love, he says, a nightmare comes in order to tell us to wake up and pay attention. There's a survival issue at stake, and we so frequently forget our dreams, that to have the dream wake us up in a nightmarish fashion, we have no choice but to remember it. So it's but I have to always come back to that understanding of the dream is trying to help me heal and help me become more whole.
That's a great and positive frame that I think if people hear nothing else in this entire summit, that could change their lives. I think a lot of us are having those kinds of dreams, and we need to know they're speaking to us from they're trying to empower us. They're not trying to hurt us or torture us. Okay, so what's the
Yeah.
second basic hint in the toolbox?
And this one's the classic. It's like, only a dreamer can say with any certainty what his or her dreams may have, and this certainty usually comes in the form of a wordless aha of recognition, and it's
Mm.
the only reliable touchstone of dream work. So the dreamer really has the final word. I mean, I can say 10,000 things about someone's dream, but and have a group of 100, I don't have a group so big, but if I have a group of 35 people, and 35 people there have said 35 different things about this person's dream, now that means it's true for them. But the dreamer gets to choose what resonates for them or not. And so ultimately they get the final word. And so there's nothing more pointless than arguing with somebody about what their dream might mean.
I love that. And it so takes it out of that disempowerment of like kind of calling the psychic to say, what should I do with my life? Who am I? What does this mean? And somebody else having the authority. This is always empowering the dreamer. You have the ultimate authority. This is about
Yeah,
you.
It comes from your unconscious. It's filmed live and in person in your own psyche. It's about you as the dreamer. It's about me as the dreamer. So, and we are invited to join in when we're in a group dream sharing scenario. We get to imagine ourselves in this dream, but ultimately it's the dreamer who gets the final word. So,
Right. Right. Love that. That's great. Okay. What's the third one? Third
okay.
tool in the toolkit.
There is no such thing as a dream with only one meaning, and all dreams and images are overdetermined and have multiple meanings and layers of significance. And I like to say multi-layered, multi-dimensional, because every single time I've worked a dream, there are so many different I mean, there's one track that we can go with and say, oh yeah, this is about my right livelihood in the world. This is about my relationship health. This is about my physical health. But all of those can be happening at the same time. And I would even add to it, it's about past, present, and future simultaneously. And it's also about my ancestral line. It's about my lineage into the future. It's outside of time and space. And they have so much wisdom and depth. We can never exhaust them.
Never. Even just a dream with that's just like a one syllable, one symbol dream, or one syllable of a symbol dream. We can unpack that for a lifetime. Right.
Yeah, right. And that's, and I'm glad you said for a lifetime, because, the dreams don't really have an expiration date, according to my
Right.
version of it. If I still feel an emotional charge and I still remember parts of the dream, I would recommend always going back and working on it. I have some dreams I've worked over years and in many different modalities to see so many different versions of it. I mean, I've worked a lot with people who do a form of dream theater, and that's always really powerful to take it out of just the talking method and or create something from your dream, a sculpture, a drawing, a painting, a collage, whatever feels right. And that it gives a whole nother texture to the dream.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So let's see what's the
Yeah.
fourth tool in the toolbox, toolkit.
Yeah, this one was the one that was so hard for me to get. And
Oh,
so,
let's hear it.
I mean, it was like I had to go over and over. So, no dreams come just to tell you what you already know. All dreams break new ground and invite you to new understanding and insights. And
I love that.
it's typical for us to want to say, oh, this dream is about that. I know it's about. An example I used the other day was somebody said, oh, my dream is I wake up, it's really dark and stormy and it's raining and I just don't even feel like getting out of bed. And see, my dreams are coming to tell me that I'm depressed. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, maybe I could be depressed, but why would the dream come to tell me to just remind me of that? I mean, the dream has to be breaking new ground, giving me
Mm-hmm.
some opportunity to find another solution, another possible new insight that I hadn't thought of before. And so with that particular dream, maybe there's something about going out and letting the rain just wash over me for a while and feel the softness of my hair when I come out of the rainwater. Those kind of things. There's an invitation to do something different than what I've done before. Because I mean, that's one of the subtitles I like to say to most dreams is break free of our conventional ways of doing things. That's really
Oof.
important.
Oh God, that's so good. It's so important. Like just as you were saying this about this dream about the storm, it's like there could also be that, oh, okay, I'm having a stormy moment, but storms come and go. They have a beginning, middle, and end. And often things are cleansed, the environment is purified. There's something that gets to move out as a result of it. So there's that element too we can keep looking for. I love the notion that it's not just telling us what we already know. Why would it waste its time? That's
This infinite source of wisdom and can show me any symbol that it wishes to. It's infinite. It goes beyond, our human mind. So yeah, why would the dream come to tell me, oh, right, I'm depressed? Well, it might remind me of the fact that I'm depressed, but it also might help me to realize, there's ways to break free of this. And some of the ones you just mentioned, it's a cleansing. It's not going to last forever. There's a
Right.
sense of nurturing that nourishes the earth. And like I said, what if I'm invited to go out and step out into the rain and feel
Right.
the power of the raindrops all over, and feel that feeling of, psychic cleansing in the rainstorm. So
This is
there's
so special.
we just need to go past the obvious and look for, what is the dream trying to tell me?
Let's go past the obvious. Whew, very good. Okay. So, what's the fifth tool in the toolbox?
All right, so this is what I spend a lot of.
Toolkit.
Yeah, that's all right. Toolbox, toolkit works the same. So when we talk to people, when talking to others about their dreams, it's both wise and polite to preface your remarks with words to the effects of, if this were my dream, or in my imagined version of the dream, and to keep the commentaries in the first person as much as possible. And this means that even relatively challenging comments can be made in such a way that the dreamer may actually be able to hear and internalize them. It can become a profound psychospiritual discipline, walking a mile in my neighbor's shoes and moccasins. And I included that in my description because that's really what keeps me going with this work. It if we can if I can truly imagine being someone else, then I can have compassion for them. If I cannot imagine being someone else, I will never be able to have compassion. So this is why it becomes a psychospiritual discipline. It What we're experiencing right now with the war in Ukraine. I mean, I keep seeing these pictures of these little children singing songs and carrying flags and marching across the border, and they're so resilient, and they're still maintaining their childlike innocence and peaceful hearts. And it's like, that's just phenomenal to be able to think about putting ourselves in that position. How would it be to have small children, any children, or just ourselves, trying to get across out of harm's way with a war? So there's a place in there where Dreamwork helps us to really imagine being someone else. If I listen to someone's dream and fully see it and feel it in my own mind's imagination, and then enter it with the sense of saying, in my imagined version of this dream, and then ask all the questions in the I. So in other words, if you told me a dream about driving in a car wearing a beautiful dress, I'd say, well, what color is my dress? What type of car am I driving? And then that way I really feel like I am the dreamer. Because if I go,
Oh,
you,
that's good.
if I
That's
say,
good.
so what is your dress? What does your dress look like? See, I immediately have switched it around to not being me. But if I
Mm.
say, what does my dress look like? And what car am I driving right now? Then it feels as though I'm still in the dream.
Oh, yeah. That's good. That's so special and important. And it feels like what you just touched on is part of what's so exciting about this work and about your work and Jeremy Taylor's work, and you being kind of the one to keep his work fresh
Yeah.
and going, and like the continuum of the work is,
Yeah.
I think if we can, I keep envisioning human 2.0 is like who we're capable of being is exactly what you just described. People who can put each other in each other's moccasins and walk 20 miles and really understand each other. And I think that's, if nothing else, I think dreams are a conductor of that aspect. And dream work, it's not just our dreams, but the being able to talk to somebody about it in this space, it helps us to be able to keep putting ourselves in each other's shoes. What were you about to say?
Well, no, I was letting you finish because it brought up a whole lot of things for me. Because,
Yeah.
of course, because it's what I do all the time. There's this feeling of, I believe that our dreams are very difficult to understand because they're meant to be shared with other people. In other words, I'm not,
Nice. Yeah, I
I'm gonna
agree.
get one layer with my dreams, and I'm going to be able to figure out a whole lot that's going to be really important, and that's very powerful. But to get to the absolute depth of it, I really need to share it with other people, and so that they, it's like Marie-Louise von Franz, one of my absolute heroes. Um, Old Jungian, wrote a lot of books about dreams and symbolism. She always said, you can't see the back of your own head. And I think that's one of the things that helps me to understand why dreams are difficult to grasp on our own.
Yeah, makes the case for Dreamwork to bring it to other people. I love that. That's so good. It's so good. Okay, I want to keep going, even though I've got so many other things we could unpack. On a parallel dream plane, we're talking about all manner of
Sure.
things. But let's go to the sixth
Right.
tool in the
The sixth
toolkit.
and final piece here.
Sixth and final piece.
That all dream group participants, and this is about basically as a moderator and a facilitator of dream groups, it's about building a very safe container for everyone. So all dream group participants should agree at the outset to maintain an anonymity in all discussions of dream work. And in the absence of any specific request for confidentiality, group members should be free to discuss their experiences openly and outside the group, provided that they don't specifically identify the dreamer. And then the last bit is that sometimes people request strict confidentiality. In other words, I'm going to share some stuff about my family, or I'm going to share some stuff about my work experience, and I don't wish it to leave this room. And so we respect that, and we respect that that people, dream work brings up things that are from the unconscious that we may not know exactly what we're sharing. So we have to be able to feel safe in the environment of dream sharing.
That's so important, that safe container, so that so much can be revealed. And I think sometimes we as dream workers will share about a dream, like you just said. Oh, somebody who said, oh, I had the dream about the storm and I'm depressed. So that might have been an actual person in an actual dream group, but there's no mention of that person's name or any identifying characteristics. But we can bring it into our own experience, so that if this were my dream, so that we're not violating anybody, which again adds to the notion of this being really empowering work. And I think these 6 hints at these 6 tools in the toolkit are so important. What a wonderful and elegant frame for how to work with dreams, whether you're somebody who wants to start your own dream group, whether you want to just have a one-on-one sharing, or whether you're seasoned. I think this is a really, really valuable gift that you've just given us. And thank you. And we nod to you, Jeremy Taylor, as well, through Billie Ortiz. So speaking of this work, let's do a little example, let's do something that people that are watching and or listening can experience for themselves. So how could we do that?
Well, if you'd like to share a little bit of a dream, I'd love to hear it. And maybe just a snippet or something, or a theme.
Snippet.
Or a theme, or a specific symbol, something that you wish to look into.
2 that are kind of competing, and they're both very short. I think the one that I'll share, just because it's so not that strange, but it's just been kind of like, so this is just like one tiny little thing. It was bananas. It was like a bunch of bananas wrapped with fairy lights, and it was on my kitchen table, and it was beautiful. It was like this centerpiece with lights, and it happened to be bananas. And I'm not a banana person. I don't normally buy them, but because of that dream, that was a few days ago when I went to the store. After that, I bought bananas, and I actually had some in my oatmeal today. And I thought, oh, these are really good. I should have more bananas. Okay, there you go. What do we do? Yes, I'll have no bananas.
That's good. Well, when you first said it's bananas, I thought, oh, the dream symbol is crazy. That's what I thought. Like, that's what I thought, like, oh, this is a really
like the Gwen Stefani. The is bananas. Bananas. Okay, it's bringing up my little hip hop side.
Describing something like bananas. So the fairy, what are there? So I'll just ask a few questions. Are there any? Is there any light color to the lights, or are they white or blue, or what color?
They're just white. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. They're just kind of reflecting the yellow of the bananas. Seems
And what is my thought when I see the as the dreamer? What is my thought when I see the bananas with the fairy lights?
it's like a oh, that's so pretty. It's so ooh, like kind of magical, special,
Right, magical. Okay.
exciting, exciting.
Huh? And all it is a bowl of bananas that
That's
has
all
some.
it is with sparkly little fairy lights interwoven.
Oh, the fairy lights seem so. Any associations with fairy lights in your life?
Yeah. If you came to my house, you'd be like, okay, there's a lot of fairy lights, but I don't put fairy lights around my food. And
Hmm.
I live down the street from a place called the Inn of the Seventh Ray in Topanga. And it's people come from, it's a destination. People come from all over to be at this place.
And as the dreamer, why do I put so many fairy lights around? What's the reason for that?
I just think it adds a dimension of magic. And it used to be at Christmas, I would be after Christmas would be over, I would be so sad to take down all the decorations and the lights. And then I realized, oh, but if I keep them kind of a neutral color, I can keep them up all year long. And I'm not, just it's like bad feng shui to keep Christmas decorations up past New Year's. So I can get away with having my fairy lights everywhere.
Yeah.
Keep the magic all year long.
So yeah, I keep hearing this dimension of magic. So in my version of the dream, just really quickly, I
Yeah.
would say the bananas wrapped in the fairy lights, and I feel like, oh wow, this is so special. It's so pretty. Something about adding that magic and joy to just everyday activity. And I, as Kelly, I can imagine that I already probably do that in a lot of ways, because if I love fairy lights as much as I say, then it's I've already got a piece of that. But the bananas aren't something that I normally buy, so that would be something that I would say this is inviting me to try something new, to try something different, and I did. And as the dreamer, I had bananas in my oatmeal today, right?
There's also this element that just popped in from I used to run track. I'm a runner. I run almost every day still, but back in high school when I competed as a runner, I used to get these horrible cramps in the middle of the night, and I would have nightmares that I was being attacked. And it would be when these cramps in my thighs or in my calves would happen. I would imagine that people were stabbing me, and they would wake
Oh,
me up. I'd wake up screaming, and I was told that I was potassium deficient and that I should eat a lot of bananas. So back then I used to eat a lot of bananas, and I kind of got sick of them. So I haven't had them so much lately. So I think there might be some health aspect to this dream, kind of maybe if bringing my attention to it to prevent
mhm.
some cramps or things like that.
Well, that's right. Billy, got certainly a big aha with that. I know those leg cramps. I've had them, and I'm not a runner, but by any means. But I have had many leg cramps, and one of
Oh
my friends
gosh.
recommended that smart water. So that
Oh,
to the smart water helps with that too. That
oh, interesting. It's funny because I had when I was young, I was at a Girl Scout camp overnight. And this was when I was, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11. And I'd been jogging, running since I was very little. My dad was my coach, and he'd get me out of bed early. Come on, he'd play the bugle and, the whole thing. And in the middle of the night at this slumber party, I woke up screaming with this cramp, and it woke up the whole, I don't know how many girls there were. There was maybe 50 in this, and everybody was circled around me like, what's happening to Kelly? Oh my God. And I was completely asleep. And then when the cramp went away, I just fell back asleep. And everybody,
Mm,
and the next morning, everyone was like, what the hell was that? So that was definitely a shared dream experience that I didn't have the tools to be able to work with people and have it calm down. Anyway, I just thought I'd share
Well,
that.
that's no, that's a very, I mean, thank you. I love the stories that come out of the dream work because it helps to understand the symbols even more. Because we could say, oh, this is some silly little dream about bananas and
It
fairy lights,
seemed kind of silly, like it didn't feel like there was gravitas connected to it. But now that we're talking about it as it is the way, it feels
right?
more important.
And see, and with these dramatic shouting out in the middle of the night, screaming from the leg cramps, the bananas become even a deeper symbol for me as Kelly because it reminds me of a time when I was in great pain. And
Mm.
this was the remedy for the pain.
Bam, aha moment. That's great. Okay. You're good, Billy. You should do this. You should really do this. Oh, I feel so good. I'm covered with goosebumps.
Wow.
I love this. Thank you so much for illuminating this dream and giving people a sense of how you work with dreams and the way that you inquire and the way that you put yourself in that position. It's your dream. And how do I feel about the bananas? How do I feel about fairy lights? And the languaging is definitely a little strange, like because I think most people it's like, wait, but it's your dream, it's not my dream. But I think it's worth getting used to the strangeness of referring to another person's dream as my dream, because it is ultimately it is. So as we come to wrap this, which I on a parallel plane, I never want it to wrap. I want to keep talking to you, Billy. And I've had the blessing of being in your presence. And I'm looking forward now that COVID is kind of wrapping
Mm,
up. So I hope that I'll be able to work with you again. But
yeah.
do you, I know you've got a special podcast, and do you have a special offer? I want you to have a chance to tell people what else you have available up your dream sleeve, so to speak.
Well, my website is wakeuptoyourdreams.com. And
Wakeuptoyourdreams.com.
mhm,
Wakeuptoyourdreams.com.
and I offer several different groups throughout the month, all via Zoom now, and which has been wonderful in a lot of ways because we get to connect people from all over the world. And I have, if you go to my website, you'll see that the calendar. I've got a couple that meet in the afternoon and a couple that meet in the evening, and that's so that people that are in different time zones can join us, and people that are still working full-time jobs can join us. And then also, I'm building a new podcast with my dreamer friend and colleague, Dr. Royce Fitz. It's called the Healing Dreams Project. And we like to say the little tagline is exploring projective dreamwork for your health and wholeness. And
Nice.
we have been recording some and we've kind of put them in the library we haven't released them yet. It's going to be one of these things where we want to get a few examples of dreamers and dreamwork professionals, but we don't want to concentrate just specifically on dreamwork professionals. This is the biggest part that Royce and I discussed. We want to talk to people just from the general public. So we actually set up a dream hotline, a phone number, because we want to hear the dream in your own voice. We don't want it written in by email.
Oh, that's great.
So we want to be able to take the samples of these voicemails and use it as some audio during the podcast, and then maybe discuss some of the symbols within. So I'll just give the number really quick because even though we haven't released the podcast yet, I invite people to call and we can maybe feature it in a future episode. 720-573-9195. 720-573-9195 is the Healing Dreams Podcast hotline.
Oh, I
and
love that.
and it does take a little while for it. There's several rings because it's like a rollover line, but well, once you get there, you have about 2.5, 3 minutes to leave a message and
Oh,
tell us your most burning dream symbol that you want to know about, the one that's just been bugging you so much.
oh, that's so fantastic. I love it. And I just want to let everyone know who's watching that you can click on your screen to purchase premium access to the summit, which includes unlimited access to all of the summit sessions, transcripts, and also bonuses. So make sure to check that out. And Billy, given all that we've talked about, this wonderful toolkit, these hints, these and the work that you've done with Jeremy Taylor, and now empowered to do in your own right, and picking up where he left off, and now you're in your own edge, and now with your Healing Dreams podcast. Is there one last thought that you'd like to leave us with today about dreams, about how to make a change in our lives with our dreams?
One more thing I wanted to mention, which I
Yeah.
forgot, is I
Yeah.
also offer a Dreamwork training program, and that's
Ooh.
the Rocky Mountain Institute for Projective Dreamwork. And I'm going to be starting up another round of that soon, and I'll update it on the website.
And they can get
And
all of that at your website, which is wakeuptoyourdreams.com.
correct.
Excellent.
So the final word, is that what you
Final thought to leave us with and inspire us.
Well, I just want to go back to that compassion piece. I think that this is why I'm so dedicated to this work, and that's why I'm dedicated to teaching others how to bring the work to the world. As we just experienced going through the projective method, I was getting ahas along with I could see your ahas as well, and I truly can imagine it for myself. So if there's one final comment, as it's the title that I chose for this presentation, that inspiring compassion through the practice of projective dream work.
That is so important. I mean, if we can do nothing else but expand our compassion and deepen our compassion, then we will all be better for it. And our dreams are a great way to do that. So Billie Ortiz, you have been wonderful today. Thank you so much for being our speaker. And thank you everyone for listening. I so appreciate your work. And as we go forward from here, don't take your dreams lying down. Sweet dreams.